Thank you guys for checking out today's podcast. This was actually recorded 5 months ago, gearing up for the release of Here to Stay, which is now debuted. So some of the information within this episode may be a little bit factual in hindsight, but it was still a really fun episode to record either way. We had a bit of a discussion about, music, the creative process, some of his influences, instruments, all of that fun stuff. So stick around if you want to hear that. This is the first episode of Bedroom Recordings.
When I'm alone, I find I fade away. And I thought I finally found, I figured out I'm still the same. Got lost in doubt, my mind's playing game. Do it all over again, I can do it all again. When I'm alone.
I got my Cat Dad mug.
Cat Dad mug. Yeah, I love the name, by the way.
Applied to me by Target. Thank you. Yeah. I went so back and forth on it for the longest time, loving it and hating it. I've really come to love it.
Well, thank you, Kat, for coming on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here, dude.
I knew that you grew up in LA, so could you tell me a little bit about, your impact in the music scene? What sort of influenced your kind of lo-fi chill style?
Well, I was actually born south of LA area, San Diego. Really much of time in LA at all. I actually was raised in the upper central coast part of California, so I didn't know I had a Wikipedia or wherever you found that, but they needed to listen to this podcast. No, but I was raised in Los Osos. It's this tiny little hidden town, but it kind of has a dark, emotional, very artistic, creative type vibe. It's like a community. It's really foggy, natural, and nature everywhere, and everything's really just, it inspires art. And so a lot of artists actually live in this area. And growing up here, there was always a path to go walk on and just take my guitar and get lost, or a beach to go sit next to and just write something on my ukulele. So as an artist, it was really easy to get inspired in dark emotional ways. And when I found lo-fi, I first really got into how it brought out a lot of those kind of darker side passion. You'll hear about sad lo-fi and stuff all the time. I'm a super positive guy, but I also have a lot of emotions. So I kind of really felt good expressing myself through that. And I've always been a songwriter and worked on a lot of indie type stuff, I guess, singer-songwriter, classic type things. And so from that, I kind of built my own little lo-fi style. And I don't know, then I really got into bedroom pop. Now I've kind of come full circle. I'm starting to do more songwriter stuff fused with all of it. So it's really fun to see where it's kind of come. But
yeah, I mean, I really do have a lot of appreciation for your art, because as you said, you've kind of combined the whole lo-fi, indie pop, and you've kind of just transcended it into this whole melodic, I guess, therapy for people listening. But sort of going off what you said, I really like all of the guitar work that you do in your songs. So could you tell me how long you've been playing the guitar for?
I have been playing the guitar since I was 16, so nearly half my life, because I'm about to turn 28, which would be, no, that's not 16, that would be 32. Okay, yeah, so it's approaching it. It's been a minute.
One thing that I was very fascinated with, because you've done a fair bit of work with Tulip, however, you say it in my Australian accent.
Tulips. Yeah, some people call her Tulips. You can call her Tulips Ballad. That's my shitty Australian accent. Forever on recording.
And that song, has 500,000 plays, so obviously we're gonna have to bring it up, the whole, your biggest song. So can you tell me a little bit about how you two met and how that song sort of came to be?
Yeah. So, well, Tulips and I, we're actually boyfriend and girlfriend. So we lived together for nearly 4 years and been dating for almost 5 years. So yeah, it's been super awesome that she kind of developed into music and writing in the past year or so, that I was kind of able to mentor her with all the years of music I'd done and stuff. She just picked it up so quick. We got together with a friend and wrote that song after we'd already worked on a good amount of music together. And that's kind of how that song came to be, more or less in a nutshell. But yeah, no, I'm super blessed to have an amazing girlfriend and life partner, Tulips, because she is super creative, and music is just one of the many things that she's insane, pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing from your facial reactions, I love how happy that you're getting about your current life situation and your music, all of that fun stuff. So is music currently your main profession, or are you doing something else to, I guess, pay the bills?
Well, to pay the bills, I actually mostly do voice acting. Like I do voiceovers, and that's like a big chunk. I also do like a lot of little like odd jobs, like audio editing. I do mixing, master people. I do studio music. I've done like like work. I kind of help some people manage some social media, and like I don't know. I kind of just do little things here and there, as a lot of musicians do. I try and take most of the revenue I earn from streams and either like save it or turn it right back into the music. Excuse me, I'm kind of getting over a little cold over here. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I do to pay the bills besides music. But ever since I graduated high school back in 2011, I went to really cool like school that was based from London, but it was like a class that was taught dates like right where I was, like the same type stuff. And I took that for like a year. And then ever since 2012, I've been like pursuing a music career. So it's been a lot of iterations, been a lot of bands, it's been a lot of solo projects, been a lot of different things. A long while later, here I am as Cat Dad, like settled in the place where I really feel like I know what I'm doing and I'm going somewhere.
Yeah, personally, one of my favorite songs on your discography, because I've been following you for a little bit since you did the feature with my buddy Ponce, was The Shades of Blue. But alternatively from that, I really enjoyed your song Reset. So can you tell me a little bit about how long that song took to make and sort of where your mindset was at while you were doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. Reset. Like, almost all of my songs are really from like either like a personal story or like a state, like a really like something I just can't get out of my head, like a thought I just can't get out of my head. You know what I'm saying? And Reset was one of those where it was a thought I couldn't get out of my head, but probably one of my most long-standing thoughts. Reset was all about I'll do something in my life sometimes and I'll make these like decisions and these choices and I'll be like, yeah, man, this is it for sure. And then like really like start getting things going and then I like step back, nah, you know, and I'm like kind of like it's like this been this cycle. And Reset was kind of about like analyzing that as like myself as an artist. When do I kind of like just keep putting into the creative cycle of something as itself instead of feeling like I have to reset myself all the time and, you know, try and pick up the pieces from square one every time, because it's not always about that. But that one came together pretty quick. It only took me about a week start to finish of writing the song, recording it, mixing and mastering, getting it out.
When you sit down to make a song, so for example, I know when I sit down and I'm going to make a song, I have to either lay down like drum beat first or I have to get some, you know, bomb-ass synth melody. So I'm curious to know sort of what your process is. When you sit down, do you need to have like a baseline of what you're going to need to work on? Because everything that I've heard you produce is really polished. And so I kind of want to know a little bit about that creative process.
As far as like my arm reaches out, right here is my desk. And I just got this like epic little wall in like my studio space. And I'm kind of like in our living room. And it's kind of just me out here. I've been working in like home studios since 2012. And I've like just been working on, I've done like use a bunch of different DAWs, but I use Ableton Live. What I'll do is when I have like a new idea for a song, these days, hundreds of songs being written throughout the years, pretty much nothing I haven't tried to like start a song with. But mostly how I write these days is I will either have like a riff on guitar or like a set of like chords, or maybe either a melody for a chorus comes to my head. And I'll usually start with like the chorus and I'll kind of just make catchiest part of the song, the part that I just want to like be the highest point, the selling point. And that way, when I build the song around that, I like always know whether that's the most emotional. It's like based around that. And so from there, sometimes I'll reverse engineer it and be like, okay, this is like cool verse progression. Or I could be like, oh, right away, I'm like hearing, oh, this chorus going to this bridge. So it all kind of comes differently. But generally, I'll get that like really good chorus and I'll like put some chords behind. And then once I like have the song written out or like a loop, depending on what I'm kind of feeling. And that's if I kind of want to feel more, a little more singer-songwriter aspect or a little more kind of like pop aspect. I'll work with like loops, like entire like structured songs off the bat. Then I'll lay down like a fat ass drums over like a demo of the guitar and I'll put a bass below that. And then I record my actual guitar. And then I usually layer in vocals, auxiliary and percussion.
Reset, picking up the pieces. Have I found me yet? Taking all consideration, still I press reset.
Yeah, man. Well, that's actually really fascinating to hear about because, you know, when you kind of sit down and, you know, make a song, it's a little bit hard sometimes to get the thoughts in your head out onto the recording. So I have this issue where, you know, when I go to make a song, I have the idea and then from the time it will take me to get from upstairs to downstairs, the idea is slightly different. So I'm like, oh, fuck, what do I do? And so then I'm like quickly trying to finish this song. So do you have any sort of creative blockages like that? I guess when you have an idea, does it just stick with you, or is it out the fucking window?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're meaning, actually. Specifically enough, I've always looked at my mind as kind of like a muscle that I've tried to flex. My memory is a part of my mind that I've always tried to like control, in a sense, of like what I remember and how I remember. Like, so when I first started writing music, I noticed that problem. And within about the first year or two, I decided to just make myself better at remembering memory or melodies and like stuff specifically, or if I freestyle something, just like almost remember it instantly as if I was a loop. And I basically just like meditated on that aspect of my mind working like that for like a good year or so, and like actively practiced it through freestyling a bunch and like with melody and chords and words and all these different things. And every time I did have an idea, I would like challenge myself to do something else and then go back to like remembering the idea. And like I would record it to like make sure like always have your phone on you. And that's basically how I literally train myself to like, if I have an idea, I can kind of come up with the melody, a chorus, I can start structuring the lyrics of the chorus. I'll have like the rhythm and everything in my head. And then I'll like be able to take that and like find chords behind that on guitar. And then from there, once I like structure a song, like my newest song I'm writing right now, I actually wrote probably more than half of the lyrics in my head, moving below it, because I can kind of just like, specifically enough, I think I've like kind of turned myself into a superhuman in that instance. So my advice is meditate on it and try and control your mind, because that shit is tough. And if you can't, just keep your phone with you at all times and record that shit.
I love that sort of analogy. Just meditate on it. That's awesome. I mean, you're obviously very knowledgeable about music. Do you think it's sort of vital for people who are starting out to know music theory, or did you kind of just fuck that, fuck music theory, I'm just gonna jump right in, balls to the wall style?
Yeah, well, you know, I didn't really get that chance, because by the time I started writing music, or I had been in band, in school band, playing trumpet since 6th grade. So I had already done that for a good like 4 years or so. So I already kind of had some music theory basics. But when I went to guitar and like songwriting in general, I didn't ever think about that. Even though I didn't really learn like intense music theory even beyond middle school and like high school level, really until like I went to college for it. Even still, when I write, sometimes I'll look at like, you know, I'll think about keys and that kind of a thing. More or less, I just still go off feeling what my ear wants and what my heart and my like tongue wants saying. At the end of the day, that is what I feel someone's true expression, you know? It's like anyone can follow a rule book. If you're not listening somewhat to that like inner instinct of just, what do I want to play, regardless of what's right or wrong, then it's, are you really expressing yourself?
Yeah.
So no, in other words, if you don't know music theory, fuck that and go right on into it, because that's basically what I did.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have basic rhythm and you can keep up with a tempo, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you need some basic skills, and those kind of things can be learned too and stuff, you know, playing with metronomes and things like that. But yeah, as far as like people being, you know, oh, I don't know chords, I don't know scales, I don't know keys, I don't know all that stuff. It doesn't matter. Just look up chord charts, you know, and just find chords that play something, be like, that sounds cool, and then play something else and play a few things until you're like, that sounds cool, and then like put it together and put a rhythm behind it. And that's how I started, honestly.
As I said before, I kind of perceived your music as, I guess, very polished, because, you know, you've been doing this for a little while, as you said, since 2012. So can you tell me a little bit about your first song and reflect upon that experience a bit and how that made you feel?
My very first song I ever like front to back wrote with like a verse and a chorus in it. I'm pretty sure I felt like really like good. Like I felt really like I can do this, because I looked at songwriting as an unexpected challenge when I first found it. It's something I never thought I would ever really do. And so it's like once I did it, you know, I finished writing one song, I was like, no, might not be the best song, but yeah, this I can do this. And so I just kind of like, that was kind of like the seed of confidence as a songwriter, like going and developing it and knowing that like, you know, a song is really just whatever, fucking amazing, you know, taking that like pressure off. Tried to always do this.
One of my personal favorite songs, I've got 3 songs by you that I absolutely adore, and I just have them on repeat all the time. I really want to hear about Feel Like All Alone. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that one's actually really kind of a funny story. So Broken Pupil, the producer from that, his name is Jose, and he's actually from Peru. I'm pretty sure Peru. And he is super nice and found my music somehow, I think through a song on a playlist or something, and then followed me. So I like followed him back because I checked out his music and I was, whoa, dude, this guy's produced for Umi. Like, what the fuck? Like, do you know who Umi is?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, dude, this is sick. And this guy followed me. I was like, who is he? And then he just hit me up and he was just so nice and like so kind. kind. And so we just really got to talking and connecting. And after a while, I shared a story with my girlfriend, Tulips, and he heard her voice and he was like, whoa. And so he hit her up and he wanted to work with her. And so then they worked on a song and it came out really cool. I think it was Closer With You was their first song together. After that, we were all like, all three got to do something. And that was right when the pandemic, like the thickest there, July, kind of like 2020 time. And we all got together and wrote kind of a song about being alone and being separated and being that whole kind of feeling that I guess a lot of artists were tapping into at the time, is not knowing how together you actually need to be.
It's one of my favorites, and just the lyrics on that and the production and the polish is really nice. So nice, Cat Dad. I don't know why I'm stuttering all of a sudden.
Most of that, all that was, Jose, like Pupil, like we just recorded the vocals on our end over here and sent them to him and he did it all. And like low key, like secret insider fact, that was actually not supposed to be the final version, but it was close. It was like damn near like done. And then Peter crashed and like he couldn't get shit back. And so we just called it there because it was like so good anyway. And we are just like, this is where it was supposed to be. Fate says this is where it's supposed to be. Sometimes the universe just says, stop tampering with it. And you know what? Everyone loves it. So,
well, that's actually really crazy because, as you said, that's sort of fate. The universe has a way of sort of explaining things and saying, this is good.
Yeah.
One thing that really draws me to your music is your work with synths, because every time I listen to your music, it's always got this really nice bouncy synth, nice and bright. So can you tell me a little bit about what kind of synths that you use to record?
That's funny that you like my synths, because sometimes I question if they need to be there, and like sometimes they are there, sometimes they're not, but I do use them a lot. When I mainly produce my synthesizers, it's all off of my Roland Gaia. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's an analog and digital kind of like fusion 3-channel synthesizer three-channel polyphonic synthesizer, and you can build things from the ground up. So it's like you start with like the waveform, and then you go to like the the frequency or like the envelope, and you go to like the key envelope, and then all this different special effects, and then you got this LFO, really cool stuff, and it's got a whole D-beam on it. So I get really creative with that thing. I've actually been using that for like my primary synthesizer since like 2015 or 16 when I got that thing. That thing has been tried and true for me. And occasionally I will also make synths out of like organic synthesized sounds. For instance, I'll get like a lot of samples and I'll just tweak them and fuck with them and stretch them and pitch them and do all these crazy things. Like one time I took a tree branch, hit it against a tree, and I ended up making it kind of sound like a MIDI acoustic guitar, and I layered that over a Rhodes organ, and that came out really cool. And that's actually what you hear on Evolve, where it's like brang, dang, brang, dang, dang. That's actually like a sample of me like hitting a tree branch over that Rhodes organ, but all fucked up and shit.
That's actually a really cool fact. Kind of going back to what you said before with being discovered on the playlist, how vital would you say for new artists is getting a placement on some of these really up and coming playlists? Because just going through your Spotify, you're on a few playlists. People like your shit. Can you tell me a little bit about the impact that you think that's had on your music and just the audience that you've reached?
Oh yeah, it's probably nearly everything at this point. It started with just a lot of small, like reaching out to people on Instagram and daily playlists and just scouring through tons of underground artists and artists that I liked and their related artists and finding what playlists they were on, going to those playlists, seeing if they had somewhere I could submit to, and just taking a shot in the dark, and with, millions or thousands of no's later and a few yeses, you start building some, a little bit of steam to where some people start taking you seriously, and, you just keep working at it. And like, if your music's good, just keep sending it to people and people will pick up on it. And once you start getting some of those, like I started getting some of those playlists and things just kind of started rolling. Things didn't really start taking off until we got on TikTok. Once we got on TikTok, that's when like it was amazing, because all of a sudden we got our music out to like this brand new like group of people that wasn't on Instagram, and they were like way wider of a collective, and it was just the moment. And like I Fade Away kind of like took off a little bit on TikTok. Like before we knew it, it was like in enough user playlists on Spotify that Spotify was starting to suggest it like on Discovery Weekly. And then that from there has really just triggered a ton more playlists. And like, I think at this point alone, that song alone is in like, I think 12,000 user playlists. And then I think I'm in like a total of almost 20,000 user playlists, all my music. And it's all pretty much just from that snowball effect of like, once you kind of like get people putting your music in playlists and streaming it and showing it to other people and more people putting it in playlists from playlists, like it's like it just triggers that algorithm. And it's really everything I think for independent artists at this day and age is to try and trigger that kind of outlet.
Yeah, no, definitely agreed. Something I've been seeing a lot more recently is people saying that, you know, TikTok is becoming such a vital part in getting your music out there, just from the, like, V4 Vanquish, he had his song blow up a little bit on TikTok, and he was talking about, like, sort of that experience and working with Tokyo's Revenge and Praxi and stuff like that. So that was a really cool interview. Oh, sorry, my throat.
No worries, dude. I'm in the same boat. I said I got covered from that cold, you know.
Do you have coronavirus?
No, I've gotten a bunch of tests, not like just for this one, but I have gotten tests for one, but no COVID.
How is the COVID scene over in America now?
I don't know, you know, it's like kind of like some states are kind of just the fuck it point, and like a lot of states are kind of at like, there's no mandates yet as far as I know for like statewide mask mandates, but like all like, you know, really liberal leaning states are more like, okay, wear your masks again pretty much everywhere, outdoor or like indoors at least, you know, crowded spaces. So you know, I don't know. I just want things to chill out so I can start traveling around the country and playing music for like people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, Australia is horrible right now. Like, you know, we were dealing with COVID really fucking well. We were only having like 10 cases, and then within the past 3 days we've had 1,000 people test positive, which is humongous. So now they've got the military driving around making sure people are in lockdown. So it's kind of getting a bit crazy.
That's next level.
But sort of going off what you said, can you tell me a little bit about your first show and what that experience was like?
My first show ever, and my first show is Cat Dead.
Tell me about both.
Well, I guess I'll start my first show ever. That was pretty fun. I've always been a showman, so I was just like, I'm born for the stage, so I had no problem on it. And I actually had this girlfriend at the time. I laugh vindictively, but it was a revenge. But she broke my heart, and I like played it coy, and I invited her to this concert with all, because like, we're kind of the same friend group, and so a bunch of other people were going. I was like, hey, come to my show, my first show. She came, and I sang this song about how she broke my heart, and
oh man.
So my first concert was savage.
What was the reaction with that? Holy shit.
I mean, I had a lot of people on my side. She was pretty vicious. So, but I don't know, you know, no hate. I was a high schooler. I was like 17. Stupid shit we do when we're in high school. Like, then I don't know, like my first show is Cat Dad. I've been releasing some stuff as Cat Dad on like SoundCloud and some stuff off and on Spotify since like 2019, late 2019. My first show was probably around then, like some house parties like in my area around here in like San Luis Obispo in Central California. I haven't really done much besides like 2 or 3 kind of like house and like music store shows and stuff, because after that, like COVID kind of started kicking in, and then like that's what honestly got me indoors and talking to a lot of people all over the internet and really figuring out a lot of shit, and like that's what gave me the launch pad to really like make Cat Dad like something that was honestly like COVID. I don't know where I'd be without the fucking time to quarantine, man.
Something else that really fascinates me about your whole, I guess, music persona is your aesthetic style that you present on, you know, your Instagram. You're very active on the Instagram and your old Facebook posts and all that fun stuff.
God.
With
That's a graveyard. My Facebook's a graveyard.
Yeah, with the Homer Simpsons, and you got the anime. So when did you first start getting into, I guess, all of your cartoons, and how did that sort of influence your music?
Damn, wow, you really have been following me for a while. Yeah. I haven't done a lot of like those edits in a while. I don't know, you know, I kind of just saw them out there and really loved them, and I was like, oh, this is so sick. And I've always loved like visualizing my music behind stuff, so I really got into the idea of like making edits of like, you know, anime. That's like one of them. I loved watching cartoons, anything and stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of just like put stuff I like behind my music and was trying to use it to like get it out there on Instagram and stuff, and building a crowd and stuff originally. And then I kind of like shifted, I guess, to like more of like a presentation of me, because at one point I like looked at my Instagram and I was like, there's not even one picture of me on here. And I was like, and I switched all that up.
It's funny, I actually just Googled your name. You know, the first song that comes up is actually Shade of Blue with Reaver Boy. So can you tell me about how that song came to be? Because we were both featured on that album.
I don't know. You know, I knew him from back when I first started my Instagram, and like probably within the first 2 weeks or so, back in 2019, I think. Yeah, he's just been so kind and nice to me, and I've loved his stuff. And there's a few of his songs that I put in some playlists that kind of did pretty well, and he kind of was supporting my music too. And we just always been really nice and cordial. And then we had always been talking about like, yeah, man, let's work on some tunes together and tried a few things, and then kind of just ended up settling on our first thing being that feature of me on there, because he just wanted some really nice background vocals, and I was like, I just punched my knuckle. But he was I was like, yeah, bro. I was like, I love this like just kind of like 80s like dance revival, but like really heartfelt like style. Like
I love the beat on that one.
I'll give you the skinny, bro.
A skinny? What the hell is a skinny?
Like, give you the skinny, dude? Like, what's the skinny? It's like, what's going on? That's an old one.
Oh my god,
I'm a little vintage,
disgusting.
Bro. At least we don't call wetsuits rubbers.
Rubbers?
That's what we call
that's what we call condoms, man.
That's what the surfers call the wetsuits there, bro.
No, we don't. We don't call them rubbers. Man,
I heard about it, dude.
No, I live 2 minutes from the beach, and I can tell you, I've never heard somebody say the word rubber.
Well, that's rubbish.
No, we say burning rubber, like burning tires.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. You surf, man?
No, I don't. It's such a missed opportunity. I could literally walk to the beach, but...
I think I talked to you about that. I think I remember talking to you about it.
Yeah.
Every time I hear someone's from Australia, I'm like, bro, do you surf?
Do you surf, man? No, Australia is like very contrary to what you might think. It's just these gross-looking teenagers, we call them eshays, and they picture like a guy in like an Adidas jumpsuit, and he's got a little fanny pack, but they wear the fanny pack like across their chest. You know, the fanny pack just has cigarettes and weed.
Oh my god!
And the drugs that they're selling. So that's the Australian landscape. They talk like this. Give us your bag, mate.
Oh my god! It sounds like Junkrat from Overwatch.
But yeah, I remember when the Fuzz EP came out. That was a very interesting moment for me. I remember I woke up super early for it. I think that was the first project that I think I reached out to you about. How long did that whole concept take you to make?
Fuzz was from like actually writing the fourth song on the EP was actually the first song I wrote, and I wrote that back in like February of 2020. And so it was about a year in the making almost. But that was mostly just time of collecting the right instrumentals, because I knew I wanted to work with other producers for that project. I wanted to find like 4 like up and coming, like just kind of like people that I thought like, you know, I really liked. And I know what it's like to be an artist who like just like needs, you know, a leg up, and like that's pretty much where I've always been my entire life. So now that I've just like started to get any like little bit of steam, I just like love, you know, helping people out and sharing people's stuff, like, you know, time is right and things like that. So I really wanted to reach out to like 4 smaller producers and be like, let's work on this EP and like, you know, make something really cool and hopefully try and like help you guys out a little bit. And so I had met 4 really cool people over the course of the year, and I gathered like, you know, some amazing tracks from them. I picked my favorite ones, and once I had them all, I wrote the last 3 tracks pretty much within the span of a month, recorded them and mixed them in the span of like another month or 2, and then got it out kind of after that. So it was a lot of just kind of like gathering and thinking about the process and what I wanted the songs to be about, because it was also the first project that I sat down and was like, okay, I want this to kind of tell a story from song 1, 2, 3 to 4. You know what I'm saying?
So is there anything that you want to say to anybody in particular? Well,
you know, if anyone wants to come hang out and talk to me more, you can join my Discord, which is always in the link in any of my social media bios. And you can always hit me up in any DM and talk to me, even if you're having a bad day. Just say hey. And like, I'm always down to just talk to people and spread some positive vibes. And or if you want to say that you like my music, like good old Sydney here. Just reach out and be awesome. And yeah, I'd love to just talk and say hey, because that's one thing that's always super important to me is everyone who listens to stuff, anything I do. So appreciate you guys all so much, each and every one of you.
So, well, thank you for coming on the show.
You got it, bro. Thanks for having me.
If you're an aspiring artist and wish to be featured on an episode, swing me a message via Instagram at Bedroom Podcast. Alternatively, you can shoot me an email at kidwithacassette. It's not necessary, but giving a 5-star review would be very helpful. Thank you guys.